there's obviously a lot of Kellys here.
Yeah.
So when we first started working together, we had to decipher who, like, what Kelly they were talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Kelly Richardson, me, Kelly Sullivan, we had Julie Kelly Jones, then we have Kelly Gresham. And so people would come in and be like, oh, we're here to see Kelly. And we're like, what Kelly? So one day, a long time ago, we had to check in. We came to the office every day. We had to check in to see if we were coming in the office or if we're going to be out making calls or going to a closing. So I emailed one day and let everybody know that I wasn't going to come in that day, that I was going to make some calls, go to a closing, and then I signed my name and it auto-corrected to Jilly. So
was fitting.
everybody thought that was the most hilarious thing. I heard about it for weeks, and at first I was really embarrassed by the name Jelly. And then I'm like, well, it's kind of me now. It's like my work alter ego. Yeah. Here we are.
So
K Rich and
here
Jelly.
we are years later.
She's K Rich.
K Rich, Jelly, or Gel.
Yeah.
I like to call her a lot, Gel.
And then we have Soli in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I figured it'd be nice for the team, the Southeast team of New American Funding, to get to know our funding manager and ask a little icebreaker questions.
Icebreakers. All right.
Ready?
Fire. What do you got?
Morning or night?
Oh, night for sure. I think that comes naturally. It probably fits into what I do for a living, but I'm a night owl. I'll be up all night long. In the morning, so I probably need a couple hours. Like, you gotta let me get my coffee in, a water or so, before I really want to have conversation with anybody.
And that I can attest to.
Yes.
Universal or Disney?
Oh, Disney all day long.
Yes.
I go to Disney every year, as you know. That's my travel buddy. That's like K Rich and Jelly. My partner in crime, Disney World.
Yeah. Dogs or cats?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. You know, I have a zoo.
Yes.
Dogs, though. Dogs for sure. I love cats, but I think maybe I'm getting out of having cats now. I'm going to become my dog babies.
Yes. What are your dogs' names?
Oh, so I have 3 currently, as you know. I have Gemma. She's a lab. She's 13. And then I have my Rita baby. She's 5. And then Chuck is our latest and greatest that my son brought home. And he's like 7 months, a golden retriever mix. So he's a handful.
How do the cats get along with the dogs?
They mind their business for the most part. The cats, though, they run the show. The dogs know that, like, they steer clear, especially of our old one. Fatty is her name. She's a big, huge, fat tabby cat, and she is in charge.
Sorry, cat. How did you get into the mortgage industry?
Wow. About 15 years ago, I was working in human resources and needed a change. I had moved here to the Savannah area, and there was a local closing attorney who needed help. So I started on the closing attorney side as a paralegal, and then I wanted to kind of grow my career and branch out, needed some benefits and things. And so I came over to the mortgage side. I started at the front desk as a receptionist, started in setup. And then from setup, I became like a loan officer's assistant. And then after that, they were like, oh, you used to work at the closing attorney's office. I bet you could close loans. Since when the market started to pick up. And so I moved over into the closing side. And here we are 15 years later, still closing loans.
So your mom's been in the mortgage industry your whole life. Would you say that that has helped you into your career? Is that what kind of decided for you to take that path, or?
So my first job, honestly, when I was a kid, I used to walk to my mom's office after school, and I would help answer the phone, put together packets for open houses. Back in the day, this is when I used to go and, like put the open house signs up and lock boxes on the doors. I was the kid that if any of the agents in the office needed to pass out marketing materials, I would go to the neighborhood and, pass out flyers and things. And it really just kind of always intrigued me. And so through the years, it escalated. And now I think even being still in the business, not on the sales side, but on the operations side, it's really kind of giving me a perspective on what all goes into it from a loan officer's side of things. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the late hours, the weekend, the relationships. I've always enjoyed seeing the relationships my whole life, everywhere I've gone. My mom walks into a store or into a business, anywhere, everyone knows who she is. She knows who they are. They've never met a stranger. I like that. She's really truly helped build the community. And I like being a small part of building the community on the backside for sure.
I'll say too, like from a sales standpoint, especially for a lot of the newer loan officers or our referral partners that don't understand what happens once a loan comes to your department and how you guys bring us home and you're always under rapid fire and, got to do what you got to do to get the loan closed. So tell us a little bit about what it entails from once that loan is clear to close. When it comes to your department, what happens from there?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I like to tell you that my team, they're diamonds in the rough, right? Grace under pressure. It is a lot of pressure. It is attention to detail. So once a loan is clear to close, obviously it's made it through underwriting, right? We're in the downhill slide to the closing table. It is our job though, is kind of a quality assurance is what I look at. You've got to be detail oriented. We're going through the loan itself and we're making sure that all of the underwriter conditions are met. We're also reviewing like your appraisal, the title commitment, your taxes. We're ensuring that every fee that is on your closing disclosure is accurate. Like we know the why behind the fee. Our goal is to make sure that we close as efficiently and accurately as possible. We're also engaging with your closing agents, whether it's a title company or the closing attorney, and we're balancing that closing disclosure with them. They have fees that they add. We have fees that we add. And it's really a collaboration between the two. We send over all of our documents, so your escrow paperwork, to your closing attorney and to your title company. And then they also have some document that they incorporate and blend together so that we can make sure that everything is accurate. So I kind of like to refer to it as we're like the last line of defense, right? The last thing that anybody wants to do is after they've closed the transaction is to get a phone call to say that they have to make some changes or they have to correct some documents or, hey, I'm sorry, this fee was wrong. We need to fix this. So our job is to ensure that that doesn't happen. We need to go through and make sure that there aren't any address discrepancies, that your tax parcels are accurate, that we're escrowing the correct amount of fees, and that really the conditions and the fees, everything makes sense and is aligned so that we can have a smooth closing. And then also we can create, future business, right? We want our customers to leave their closing feeling like, wow, that was super smooth. Everything was clean. It was organized. It was right the first time. I'm going to use New American Funding again.
Yeah.
Yes, they've been through this whole entire process, but let's get real. Like that's the last taste of their mouth. If they have a smooth closing and they get there, their scheduled time, their money's there, their paperwork's there, their CD's there, they can sign, they can leave, they're more apt to come back to New American Funding. Whereas if, I think everybody's had experiences where maybe things don't go as smooth and they're waiting at the closing table or their CD is not balanced and there's a lot of back and forth. That's extra anxiety for the borrowers. So we do our best to keep the anxiety down and make it very clear and concise for the borrower.
I will say, in all the years that I've been in mortgage, your department does run very efficiently. And they're all very strong, team positive attitude and always willing to do whatever it takes to get us to that finish line. So it is much appreciated from the sales side of what you guys do to bring us all home. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I can say the team that we have here is the strongest team that I have worked with in my career. I think a lot of it comes from everybody is very well versed. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. They're actually all over the country. And some have experience like I do, whether it be on the attorney side or the title agent side. Some have always just been in mortgage, but they've been with other banks. So we all bring knowledge from different backgrounds together. And what the whole team has that you can't be taught is drive, right? They have that initiative. They have that drive. They're all very customer service oriented. They look at it kind of like, not to say that we're the quarterbacks of the team, but almost in a way that we're like the bench quarterback. They know how much effort that every person before them has put in and that we are that last line and we don't want to let anybody down. And so they all approach it with that mindset and are all in and day out. And for that, I am just absolutely thankful for.
I would consider you one of our servant leaders. You're always available to the entire team. You're always willing to help your team, and you would never pass a task on to your team that you wouldn't do yourself. So what would you say are the best characteristics of a leader?
I think to be a leader, first and foremost, you have to put your team first, right? A leader is only as strong as their team is. I also think like to be a leader, you have to have been able to walk in the shoes of the people that you lead, right? I myself have been part of teams where I will go to my leader and my leader either one can't answer my question or two has never walked in the path that I'm trying to walk. Right. And so that becomes very frustrating, not only for you as a person on the team, but then also for the leader. So I feel like like you need to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. You're right. I would never ask my team to do anything that either I have not done or that I would not do myself. And then, what I love about this business, but is also a challenge about this business, is that we're constantly growing. We're constantly learning. So there's always going to be new programs. There's always going to be new guidelines. I'm not just going to throw that to my team and say, figure it out, right? We do it as a collaborative approach. I know that I have a wealth of knowledge on my team. There are skills that some of them have that are far more vast than the skills that I have. And I acknowledge that and I lean on them and I empower them to teach me just as much as they empower me to teach them. We're in it together. And I think that that is key to having a successful team. I also think that at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? Put our pants on the same way. We're all here for the same goal. And so if we approach it again collaboratively together as a team, we can work through anything.
Again, from a sales standpoint, like our operations leaders and the team that backs them are all incredible. So anytime we do have an issue, anytime we are, under fire to make it to the closing table, anytime there's questions to be had, it's like immediate response from your department, underwriting, processing, the managers, anybody we ever reach out to. And I think that's what makes us, again, Southeast strong and something that every salesperson here can appreciate about our ops department.
For sure.
And it's not always the answer we want to hear. So I know a lot of people know that Kelly and I are friends, but she's quick to give it back to me too and put me in my place too. So, but we can separate the work from our personal lives. And again, I just appreciate from an operations standpoint, that we're all here to collaborate and make it work somehow.
Yeah. We have one common goal at the end of the day, right? And like you said, it's not always the answer that everybody wants to hear. And it's just as hard for us to give an answer that we know that no one wants to hear.
Right.
Right. But if we all keep the same mindset of the end goal together, we can overcome pretty much any obstacle that comes our way in solution.
One of the topics in the news and a lot of what people preach on in preparing for your closing is wiring your funds. So can you speak a little bit on what wire fraud is, how it happens, and how we can prevent it?
For sure. Wire fraud is definitely on the rise, which is very scary. Really what happens is even though that we're secure, you have these fraudsters out there, right? Who are sending emails that honestly, I've seen some myself that, I see how they get by. They are mimicking either our email addresses or even more often than not, addresses for our closing agents. And there might just be one letter off, right? And they're sending fraudulent wire instructions via the email. Or they're sending an email to say, hey, you're clear to close. Please call this phone number so I can give you secure wire instructions, right? More often than not, what I've been seeing also is that it comes from Gmail accounts. Be wary of that. You're not going to get an email 9 times out of 10 from us from a Gmail account. Nobody from New American Funding should ever be sharing wire instructions with a borrower. The first conversation that I would always have with any borrower, whether it be from the loan officer, the processor, even the real estate agents, when they're asking about sending their money, is to please call your closing agent at a verified phone number. right? If I was a borrower, I definitely would, one, I'm getting my phone number from probably my realtor or my loan officer, but then, maybe take an extra step. Google that phone number. Like, is this number legit? Does that show up to who I'm doing my closing transaction with?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you call your closing attorney, verify your information with them, right? Make sure that you're speaking to someone who is knowledgeable about the property that you're closing. And then most of the time now, because fraud is such on the rise, your closing agent is going to have a secure way of giving you the accurate information to wire your fund, right? And I also seen a lot of cases where you're getting really kind of down to the wire and you're going to get an email that's like, hey, we changed our bank account. Change it to this. That should be a big flag to anybody anytime something changes that, wait a minute, I need to slow down. Right? I always say, kind of like inspect what you expect, right? So you expect to send your money somewhere secure and safe. So you need to inspect and slow down just a little bit to ensure that you're sending it somewhere that is accurate. It's very unfortunate when it happens. It's not a click of a button to get your money back.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people lose, their life savings over a fraudulent email account, and it takes months, weeks, sometimes never to get the money back. And then that's a really unfortunate case. So I think it's always worth taking, few extra minutes just to kind of do a little inspection, verify, do a little Google search, and speak to someone in person to make sure that you're sending your money to the accurate place.
Absolutely. So one of the questions that I often get from referral partners at the closing table is they're waiting on that funding authorization. So can you elaborate and tell us a little bit about what's being done behind the scenes and the time it takes? And
Sure. So your closing package, obviously, it is vast, right? So you've got over 100 pages of documents that you sign. We have simplified our funding doc list to some key documents that we want to ensure the integrity of your loan, right? As I mentioned earlier, we never want to have a borrower to have to come back in and re-sign, and we also want to keep that margin of error super low. So we have a handful of docs that once you sign, your closing attorney is going to scan into a member of my team. Our goal is always 15 minutes or less upon receipt, right? Sometimes we have multiple closings happening at once. We're going to review those documents for the integrity of the documents. So we're looking to make sure that all of the lines are signed appropriately on the signature lines as the borrower's names read. We're making sure everything is dated appropriately. We're also kind of doing just a double check because, sometimes maybe your close date has changed or, you've had a last minute loan amount change. It's just one more stop to just kind of ensure the integrity and the quality. And then we're also, just making sure that, sometimes there's investor specific conditions or underwriter specific conditions that we have to meet to insure the loan. I.e., sometimes you need to sell your previous property in order to buy your current property. In order to do so, we have to be sure that you netted enough funds from your sale for this purchase. So we have to be able to review that CD, your closing disclosure from your sale, to be able to ensure your purchase on your next property.
so now that we know about you and your department, tell us a personal fact that we may not know.
A personal fact that you may not know. Well, many moons ago, and you probably won't believe this, and maybe most don't, I actually used to be a wilderness survival instructor. I originally thought that, when I was young, that I wanted to be like a camp counselor for the rest of my life. But as you get older and the joints don't quite move like they used to, you realize that you can't spend your years sleeping on the ground. But yeah, that is what I used to do. Still to this day, I love to go on hikes with my husband, my dog, my son. Canoeing. I do like to camp, but I would consider myself more of a glamper nowadays. I definitely at least need an air mattress. A fan is ideal. And maybe before long, you guys might see me at an RV near you. A little air conditioning going on as well. But I still love to get out into the wilderness and just enjoy and spend time. A good fire is always nice for me.
Can you start your own fire?
I can start my own fire, and I can do it without gasoline or any starters as well.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.